Good morning, everyone. How are you?
Susan?
Yes. Can you see me and hear me?
See you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. All right, everybody. So feel free to grab some food, and there's some drinks back there. Jessica has prepared all of this for us here at Sweetwater. So please indulge and grab some food while we're doing this. For those of you that are facing that way, you can turn your chairs around. Next time we'll make sure that we only have chairs on that side. I had them do that, but I think they just kind of forgot. So what we'll do is we will just have you turn your chairs around. We can, it's gonna be a little hard for you to eat that way, but we can figure that out here in a second. So Susan is up. Susan, do you want me to put in the chat the question first, or do you want me to wait? Oh, can you hear me, Susan?
Hold on just a minute. Now I can.
Okay. Echoes, it does. All right. You're echoing for some reason. Hold on. Let me see if it's us or you.
It may be me.
It's you.
Okay. I was on twice because our internet is bad in my home.
Oh, okay. Well, you can go on twice. Just mute one of them, the one that you're not talking about. You can still go on twice if you want.
I just got off the second time.
Okay.
This should be okay.
Okay. Do you want me to put the question in the chat now or wait?
I think now is good.
Okay.
I decided today just to cover some odd things. Actually, a lot of them have come up because of all of these things have come up from experiences of people in your office. And this is part of being a professional. We learn from each other and from the difficult things that we run into in a transaction. So the first thing I wanted to do was throw a question out that will either put you to sleep, or it will intrigue you, or it'll see if you're awake this morning. What is a mechanic's lien and who can file one? I don't know how many people have heard of something called a mechanic's lien before, but you're going to see in the chat, Thomasina is going to put in the chat a question. I want to ask you, which of the following types of people can file a mechanic's lien? An automotive repair shop against a car for unpaid work. Oh, I'm sorry. A real estate broker against the seller's proceeds asserting a commission claim. An automotive repair shop against a car for unpaid work. A contractor against property for unpaid labor or materials, or a doctor against a personal injury settlement. Does anyone want to vote for the real estate brokers claiming a lien against commission, or any of these other choices? Yeah, I guess since I can't hear you, the only one of these that's accurate is the one that says contractor or subcontractor against property for unpaid labor or materials. There are other types of liens that the others can file, but the one that we're concerned about, of course, has to do with real estate, with real property. And this came up on, go ahead. Yeah, this came up recently in a settlement, and you're probably thinking, well, what on earth do we have to do with whether a contractor can file a lien against property for unpaid labor or materials, and when would it come up in a residential settlement? First of all, let me tell you what a mechanic's lien when it can be filed. Say you are selling a property, you're the selling agent, and it's a flip, it's a renovation, and the contractor who did the work has not been fully paid. That contractor has up to 90 days after the last day that the work was done in which to file the last day of the month, file something called a mechanic's lien in the land records directly against the property. So you can conceive of the fact that the mechanic's lien could actually be filed after closing against your client's property, even though they were not the ones who hired this contractor. Where it comes up sometimes in closings is that very scenario. And then your buyer would be able to file a title insurance claim, of course, because mechanic's liens are covered under title insurance, thankfully. But sometimes the title insurance companies get wind of the fact that there has been work done on the property, and they will impose requirements on the seller in order for the seller to be able to basically convey clear title. If they see, if somehow they know from the listing or the contract that it was a flip, They may require that the seller provide something like a mechanic's lien waiver signed by every subcontractor on the job. They may require permits and a final inspection even. So that can throw a wrench in the works. One of the agents in your office has had one like this recently, where the title insurance company wanted to see the final inspection in the property. The plumbing had not passed the final inspection, and so it caused a delay. Even though in the contract there was nothing requiring the seller to provide any proof of having passed any city inspections. So just keep that in the back of your mind, either as a buyer's agent or a seller's agent. If it has been a property that's had work done, there is the possibility of those types of liens lurking out there. Those liens will be covered by title insurance if it were to happen after closing, but there may be additional hoops to jump through to get the title insurance coverage for mechanics liens, which is an important thing for the buyer, and the lender won't close without mechanics lien coverage. So if you want to hear more about that, I can certainly share other experiences, but I just wanted to put that in your mind. So if you're new to the business and you had not heard of something called a mechanics lien before, now you have, and you are smart. So if anyone has any questions throughout this, I can't hear anybody because you're all muted. So you'd either have to put it in the chat or ask Thomasina to ask me.
I think we're actually just really, really quiet.
Everyone's quiet here because it echoes a little bit, and I think they're scared of their own voice. So that's weird, right? A bunch of real estate agents scared of their own voice. We do have one question. Angela, speak loud and clear.
Can the mechanics lien also affect a complete cash sale? So if they decide not to get title insurance because it's a cash sale, how would that be resolved?
Well, I mean, I think whether it's a cash sale or if there's a loan, the title insurance for the buyer is just as important either way, because those are two separate policies. Even if there were a loan and the lender got title insurance, that's not going to help the buyer in this situation or with any other type of title claims. In fact, I think a cash buyer needs a title insurance policy even more than a buyer with a loan, because the cash buyer has that much more money invested in the property. And has that much more at risk if there were liens. And there would not be a lender who could make a claim under their title policy if something like this came up. So I would never advise a cash buyer to waive title insurance because they have so much of their own invested in the property. And the issues are the same either way. I don't know if that answered your question or not.
It did. Thank you.
Yep,
she said it did. Good question. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
Okay. Can you tell us about the advanced title that you all offer as well? Like the advanced title?
There are two different types of title insurance policies. One is a standard policy, and one is what's called an enhanced policy or an Alta homeowners policy. If you have a non-owner occupant or a contractor or flipper, somebody buying in the name of an LLC, they can only buy the standard policy. The enhanced policy is exclusively for owner occupants. It's called a homeowners policy, an Alta homeowners policy, which is confusing because it sounds like homeowners insurance. It doesn't add, the enhanced policy does add some things, but not a whole lot. And I'll give you just a brief overview of what it does add. It adds some coverage for things that would be like encroachments over the property line, or something that's built into a city easement, or something that's built without a permit, where the city or a neighbor would come back and make you say, we're going to make you tear that out because it's illegally placed. It's placed in encroachment over the property line, and we're not going to let you keep that structure in place. You have to rip it out. Honestly, I've never seen that happen, but there is coverage under the enhanced policy up to a certain limited dollar figure for those types of things. And also the enhanced policy goes up with the value of the property, whereas a standard policy is fixed at the dollar figure for which you purchase the property. And there are a few other features. It's not that much more expensive to get an enhanced policy. So we all automatically, when it's an owner occupant, will include the enhanced policy just in case. But if it's an entity or someone who's buying as a non-primary residence, they won't be able to get the enhanced policy. So another good question. Thank you.
Any other questions? You can unmute yourself, or anyone that's online if you have any questions, or you can put it in the chat. Anyone else have questions here? All right, I don't see anything in the chat either. No, I think you did good.
Do I have another minute or two? Or
You
am I
do.
done? Okay.
Always.
The other thing I wanted to mention, which also had come up because of an experience of someone in your office, had to do with escrows for incomplete work. If you're in a situation where, say, the seller contracted, for example, to replace windows and the windows have not arrived, the work clearly can't be done before closing. And it's not like the house is unlivable. So the parties propose that the money for the completion of the window work be put in escrow. Usually it's been paid for up front, but let's say it has not, the second half hasn't been paid for yet. And that's just a hypothetical, an easier hypothetical than some. You're going to run into some questions you need to ask to determine if this is in your client's best interest to do and whether or not it can even be done. Escrows, a lender, and if a lender is there, you can correct me if you want, or if I'm wrong. From the lender standpoint, they only on a VA loan is an escrow allowed, and then it's only allowed for exterior cosmetic repairs. So a lender is not going to be on board with an escrow for something that is structural. And with that, they're just not going to let it close if it's something that they deem to be structural that the appraiser calls out as structural. So let's say it's something that's either being done somewhat on the side. There are questions you need to ask to decide if it's in your client's best interest. Who is going to hold the money? Is it going to be the buyer's settlement agent, the seller's attorney settlement agent? Who's going to pay the costs that are associated with the escrow? There's typically a setup fee that we or whoever's holding it will charge. And if it's an escrow being held by the lender is going to have a final inspection fee that has to be paid. And then the escrow agreement would need to address who's going to make sure this work gets done. Is the seller going to stay in the game to make sure it gets done? Or is it the buyer who gets to pick the contractor? And then what's the time frame for completion of the work? I mean, is this something that's going to be done in 15 days? Is it going to take 30? And then what happens? What does the escrow agreement say is going to happen if they don't get the work done in that time frame? And then the next question to ask is what happens if the work costs more than what has been put in escrow? And the example for the windows, that's unlikely unless when they take the old windows out, they find rotten wood all around, which has sometimes happened. So who's going to pay that excess cost? And that needs to be addressed in the agreement. So all I would say is the moral of the story is on escrow agreements, they need to be for incomplete work. It needs to be something that's rarely done because there are problems that can come up that you don't anticipate. And there can be disputes over the quality of the work that could cause that money to get stuck in escrow indefinitely. And it could end up in a bad result. And so unless it's something your client is able to walk away from, whether they are the buyer or the seller, and they don't care if they get their money back or that work is done, I don't typically, I caution people against them. So that's just my soapbox. And I see Una has a question or a comment.
Yeah, Una and then Craig. And Una, I see your hand raised. Go ahead, hon.
Yes. Hey, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So some of those scenarios were actually about my transaction that I'm trying to close. And so I will restate what I said last Stump the Broker, which is in Gloucester County, be careful when work has been done on a property that you are either listing or you have a buyer for, because any work that's done and changes the structure of a building, a home, a garage, needs to be permitted and then needs to be inspected. And so Susan, I was actually wondering if that last scenario maybe had to do with the email I sent you, and if that's something that I can do to help a current situation now.
This name, I need to look at your email. On my first topic about mechanics liens, I very specifically had in mind the property with the plumbing bollards.
Yes.
But I didn't see a separate email, so I'll go look at that.
So basically, what's happening, and this might be good for everybody to hear. So what's happening is the buyer's agent contacted me yesterday and says, hey, underwriting now needs more water testing. So when I had the water tested, I got the report on July 18th, sent it to buyer's agent July 18th. July 19, the buyer's agent confirms receipt. July 27, buyer's agent calls me and says, you never sent me the water report. So I said, I will forward you my original email that I sent you on the 18th. So he has had it since the 18th. I spoke to the lender last night who called me, the buyer's lender, and he says that he just received it on the 5th. So this is a whole other situation where it's, am I now obligated to fulfill this? Now this will push closing out, and I know that the buyers are on a time crunch because of their rate lock. So this one has been a toughie.
I think it may relate to whether or not the type of water testing, the extent of the water testing was, I realize there's been huge communication lapses on the part of the selling agent that have caused this to become a last minute issue.
Yes.
But backing up to, and unfortunately, I don't think, if I'm remembering correctly, there's a time frame. And if there were, you complied with the time frame, but I don't think there's a time frame for them to come back, the lender to come back and say, oh, well, this is not the water testing we want. I don't think, unfortunately, there's nothing in the contract that binds the lender to a time frame. There are different levels of water testing. It used to be that all you would ever get from a water analysis was whether or not the water was biologically safe. There was no E. coli and no coliform in the water. But especially on FHA loans, the lenders specifically require a more comprehensive water inspection that goes into whether there's lead and nitrates and several other types of things in the water. And it's more expensive to get that. At this stage in the game, you probably would have to draw another sample because it's probably been too long to use the original sample. So I'm sorry about that, but it may be, depending on the type of the loan, that there's no way around it.
Right, it is a VA.
Maybe VA requires that. I know FHA does, and it could be that VA does as well. And I honestly, if I were a buyer's agent, I would want to control getting that water inspection done. And I would recommend to my buyer that you get the more expansive report, not just because of your lender, but for yourself, because you don't really want to have nitrates and lead and heavy metals in your water. And it may be there needs to be, that needs to be addressed if it turns out you find those types of things in the water. So, yeah, I mean, that just leads me to make that comment. If you are the buyer or the buyer's agent, that to get the more comprehensive report, even if you have to pay for it yourself, because it may be worthwhile. And I don't know if water softeners remove those types of things, Una, from the water. Or not. So.
Okay, I can get back with, because obviously now everybody has seen this absolutely beautiful brand new water treatment system that has been put there. And so maybe there's some paperwork that I can provide the buyer's agent with so that he can promptly share the information with whoever he needs to share it with, that maybe this type of system is, kind of clears that, or, I'm not sure.
I think
but
if it's a lender involved, the lender is going to want the sample because they have to just check. They just have to check a box But I
Well,
do
the
think,
lender was, because I was honest in my dates. And I let the lender know, like, I provided on such such day, and he's like, well, I only received it on the 5th. So, the lender was not happy either. But not happy with me. And
that's a
he
whole
said, we'll
separate.
do, yeah. So that's a whole separate thing, but I'm now I'm gonna have to scramble for this water test. And when I originally scheduled it, it was like a week and a half out. So, all right.
And I would say one more thing about what Una just raised, and this is more of a general comment. If there is a water softener system, it's sometimes tricky as to whether that conveys or not. I think it should convey. It is usually plumbed in with the house. But I would want to clarify that if you're a buyer's agent, that system, A, is intended to convey, even though it really should anyway, and B, that it's not subject to some sort of financing agreement, because a lot of times those things are paid for over time, and the company that installed it could have a lien against it still, even though it doesn't look like it should be separate from the property. There can be a UCC financing statement, and you want to make sure, if you're the buyer, that you're getting that free and clear of any such lien. So I think that's my only other comment on what you just said, Una.
Right. And this water system was put in by the owner, and already everything is already paid for, everything's done. So now with this mechanics lien, what would a seller need to provide, because the seller is the one who did the work, but the everything's been inspected, and it was only the bollard that was missing.
I think I had, before you got on, we had talked about the mechanics lien part. And so I think just for the sake of time in the group, I won't readdress that here, but I used your example earlier
Yes,
on.
yes. Yeah. And I was having technical difficulties and couldn't get on right away. So, but yeah, we can chat later.
Okay. And Samantha
Cragen has a question. Cragen. Yeah, I didn't hear.
I was just gonna say, in regards to your statement about escrows, I know I've said it before, and I don't know if there might be people on that may have never heard it.
Okay.
Most people in this room have. I don't want to know about any escrows ever. Okay, in my email to the buyer's agent, once we get a contract,
No lender does, guys.
I say, I want to know about all addendums. That's me covering my behind.
I know.
Because if there's an addendum that is actually relevant, I need to know about it. But for addendums like with escrows and things like that, I don't want to know about it. I'm sure most are, but I know that I do not.
Yeah.
So that was
And
one
he's one of the few that wants to know about addendums, just FYI. So,
thing. As far as like extending the date,
just FYI,
stuff like that, I'll send you a floor.
you know, no, addendums and PICRAs and such, you know, can like stay in your pocket.
Keep them in your pocket.
Keep it in your pocket. I got a pocket full of sunshine. All right. Here's one. It says, I had a seller with one and we specified it would not convey unless buyer wanted to buy it since it was financed.
That's about the water softener. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Sorry.
That's important, especially if you're selling the outlying properties and areas, that have that are not on city water. It's important to pay attention to that type of thing. And so I appreciate you throwing that in, Samantha, and Una's comments as well about it. So, yeah. And thank you for the lender's perspective on that. Even though the lender does not want the PICRA and those types of addendums, we need every addendum, because sometimes there are things that we need to know to look for bills to put on the settlement statement. So please do, even if you can't send them to the lender, please do send them to your settlement agent, because we need them. Thomasina, I think I've taken enough time, unless you had anything else you wanted me to cover.
You have 6 minutes. You want to cover anything else?
I think that was, I think the only other thing I was going to say, and this actually goes back to the water. It's related to the water. I wanted to mention something about septic inspections as well when we're while we're in that general vicinity there talking about water. I think it's important, if you are a buyer's agent, that I think the buyer, if at all possible, and if they're affordable to them, should choose the inspection service and even pay for the inspection if they have to. Don't think the buyer should have to pay to have it pumped, the tank pumped, But I think it's important for the buyer to control and have a relationship with the inspector and pick somebody that, is reputable and will do a thorough inspection and give you a thorough report with the checklist of all of the components of the septic system. So, somebody has put their eyes on each and every component of it. So that's just my soapbox on that. The other thing that I feel very strongly about is that if you're buying a property with a septic system, the buyer should contact the health department for that county or that city and request all the records on file for the septic system. And if there's a well, request the well records too. Those records can be valuable for a couple of reasons. One, every time a septic system is installed, there is a permit issued, and the permit says specifically how many bedrooms the house has. So if you've got a septic permit that says it's a 3-bedroom house and the seller is marketing it as a 5-bedroom house, there's a problem. And the seller is not supposed to be. I mean, I've never tried to find out if they would prosecute or revoke the septic permit, but that could be a problem in that you're basically illegally operating the septic system, and the septic system is not designed for 5 bedrooms. And the health department, if they knew it, would not allow, they would probably require an upgraded septic system to be installed. I was involved in a transaction like that years ago, and the selling agent was able to negotiate for a reduction in price because the seller was selling a 4-bedroom home on only a 3-bedroom septic permit, because they had converted a library into a bedroom. Also, the septic records at the health department will show things like the location of the drain field, because there's always a graph or a design that's been submitted that shows where the drain field is. That could be important because you don't want to be parking your RV or trying to put an in-ground pool or doing something in the area. If you're thinking, oh, I've got all this big backyard space, there's a reason for that, and there may be a septic drain field there, and you need to know where your buyer needs to know where it is. And the third thing, the septic records, the records at the health department will show if there have been any repairs, if there have been any violations. And that's important information for your buyer. They need to be knowledgeable, especially if they've never lived in a rural property. They need to be knowledgeable upfront about what they're getting into and educate themselves. And the last thing we've all heard, and I think recently, I don't know if it was someone in your office, there was a contract for a property with a septic system, and it said that it was on a waiver and that waiver would transfer. Does anyone know whether or not waivers are allowed to transfer to the next buyer?
They can.
They are not allowed.
Oh, none?
By law to transfer.
Let me say that again.
Hold on. You're right. Wait a minute. You went in and out right at the most opportune time because most of us have had that happen. So can you say that one more time? I think you said by law, no waiver for a septic system is allowed to be transferred in Hampton Roads. Yes.
It's
wow.
Actually across the state.
Yeah, it's across the state.
State law. Yeah. So
did anybody else know that, or am I the only one? No? Okay.
So yeah, they don't transfer. It's in the state code. I checked even this morning to make sure it hadn't been changed. So.
Why is what was the question? Why is it on our contract? Yeah, I mean, so the reason we got it because on the contract it has a place where, so why? Well, okay. I mean, it doesn't really matter, right? Because it's against the law.
It does not say on the contract anything about transferring that waiver. All it says is that it is subject to a waiver.
Right. So if you get to reapply for the waiver before closing?
I believe. Let me pull it up.
That was a good one, Susan. You dropped a bomb at the end.
Yeah. Well, what had happened in this particular transaction is that the listing agent, the listing agent had written in that it would transfer, but it turned out that was incorrect. So, yeah.
Well, it turns out that there's probably a lot of contracts that are like that out there. Because I'm telling you, for years I've seen that and was under the impression that it could happen. So I think that the general public of real estate agents is under the impression that that can happen. So that was a really good one, Susan. Lucy is looking up.
And it's not in the contract, it's in the standard listing agreement.
She's just looking at the document. We can
As agents, you're actually required to ask the seller if they have a septic system that's on a waiver, and that it has to be disclosed in the contract whether it is or not. And if it's not disclosed, then the buyer can terminate the contract if they find out at some point before closing takes place that it actually is on a waiver. And I can actually contact a local health department and just verify. I looked at the code this morning, the Virginia code, to see if it had changed, and it still said that the waivers were not transferable to a subsequent owner.
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense if you understand what a waiver is, right? Jordan, explain what a waiver is to everybody. We just had this at Septic Broker, and go.
The waiver is when a home, so septic systems are based on number of bedrooms, which is what Susan was saying. So two people per bedroom is what the septic system is based on. So 3-bedroom home is rated, the septic system rated for 6 people versus a 5-bedroom home would be rated for 10 people, which is a discrepancy. When you apply for a waiver, you are saying, hey, yes, we have, we're adding this bedroom, but our septic system is still okay based on our family dynamic or whatever it is, or based on this perk test, based on X, Y, and Z.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it does make sense because you wouldn't want to transfer if somebody has more people in their family, right? I mean, that would be the reason. Or if there's multiple, you wouldn't know what was coming into the house, right, Susan?
Yeah, there could be other reasons too. It could be that, the system is having a problem, or it needs to be upgraded for some other reason. And they're saying, okay, we're not going to make you upgrade it, but when it sells to the next person, we're going to make them. So I think if you find out there's a waiver, the first thing to do is, again, contact the health department and find out if there is some way to have it transferred. And does your buyer even want it to transfer? I mean,
it doesn't sound like there is. So I think we should go off of that it's not. Well, I'm going to check with health court just to make sure. But I mean, Susan, in 22 years of knowing you, I don't know you to steer me wrong on that one. That's for sure. And when you speak, I mean, from your lips to God's ears, I absolutely listen. So I'll double check, but I mean, anytime I've ever double checked, you're right.
Well, the other situation you may run into.
I'll double check too.
Okay.
I don't know how frequent these any longer, but those waivers also were put into place when Chesapeake switched from septic to city water.
Oh yeah, that's
And when
right.
City services were available at the property.
Yes.
The current owner did not have to hook up with any subsequent owners.
Yes,
Then
they
have to
did.
pay
Yes, that's
to hook
right.
Up to the city, so that waiver was all, I don't know if it might still be in place in a few random places.
Sure.
But also be aware of that one, because that's a huge expense for somebody to take on. Last time I talked to anybody about it, it was like 4 or 5 years ago.
But you're right, I remember that.
$7,500 buy-in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, because there's a place out in Chesapeake, down off of 17, that there's a guy in the neighborhood that wants to have city water, and he's trying to do a petition. And if he does, and he gets it through, now the thing is, if you get enough people that want it, everybody does, and it's $7,500 still to do it. And so they would be made actually now to do it. So if they got, let's say that the neighborhood had 25 people and they got 75% to say they wanted it, the other 25% would have to pay to hook up and be into it, because they don't have the option of that waiver anymore, because it's not a new thing anymore. So the city is trying to get everybody in Chesapeake on one. And that is one of the things you can petition your neighborhood to have everything go to it. And that's a big expense if you don't have it,
Yes, please.
I found the spot in the listing agreement.
Okay.
You've got these options. Property is not served by an on-site septic system.
Okay.
City services. Property is served by an on-site septic system that is not subject to a waiver, which means nothing's been added to it. We're still 3 bedrooms, 6 people. We expect to move on with 3 bedrooms, 6 people. Then the other one is the property is served by an on-site septic system that has been granted a waiver, which is not transferable to the buyer. Seller will provide buyer the disclosure regarding validity of septic system operating permit as required by blah, blah, blah of the Code of Virginia, a copy of which is attached to this agreement. Copy of the on-site sewage septic addendum is attached and shall become part of this agreement.
Yeah.
So this is at time of listing.
Yeah.
You need these documents, and it says so right here on page 3, number 8F, under your disclosures.
Yeah. So it says there that it's not yet. But I mean, I think that, I mean, honestly, for years, I've seen people write this, like years, I've seen people write this. Have you not, Joe? I have seen this for years. And so anyone who's been here, I mean, you guys have all seen it at some
Let's
point.
see. So what's that other one though? It says other,
says
enter
Enter
applicable.
the applicable exemption for transfer subject to waiver. So that means, that doesn't mean they would transfer the waiver. That means they are no longer counting the waiver in the transfer.
Because it sounds like they were transferring the waiver, and that's what I'm saying, I mean, years I've had people hit that and then put in the addendum of the waiver, and that's where the confusion is, Susan. So did you hear the verbiage on that, Susan? Say it one more time loud.
The other section is enter the applicable exemption for transfer.
Enter the applicable exemption for transfer,
Subject to the
subject
waiver
to the waiver,
pursuant to the code.
pursuant to the code. So the way that's worded is where everybody has had the issue, I bet.
And when I looked at the code this morning, the only exemptions were things like, foreclosure sales,
Yep.
or where it's an estate or something,
Yep.
DFDF between spouses, not your typical arm's length transaction.
Right.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think maybe if you owned a bank, I wonder if a buyer were owning a bank-owned property, if they could then fall under that, but I'm not so sure that they could. I think it's.
I
more
don't
meant
think
for the-
so. I don't think so, because any REOs that, back in the day, I sold a buttload, and they've only gotten harder, not easier. So, all of that, they would never transfer anything over at all. That's why it was always as is at the end. They wouldn't transfer nothing. And they wouldn't even sign. They wouldn't even sign for the AQs. Like we knew that we were going to get a fine at some point. We were going to get a $10,000 fine because the seller wouldn't sign. They have to sign first, and the seller's the bank, and they refuse to sign anything. And so finally they put an addendum in there. But I mean, it was literally touch and go. We just thought, well, we're selling so many, we'll just pay the fine. I don't know what else. I mean, I was closing 12 a week, so I was like, we'll pay the fine. You don't want to lose the contract with the banks. But they won't transfer anything, nothing. So there's no way that would be an REO one. I don't know what else it would be though. I mean, I'm going to go off of what you said, Susan, that it just is not transferable.
Yep, according to law.list.virginia.gov, Susan is 100%
Yeah.
right.
Susan's always 100% right, but I like to hear it.
No, I'm not.
Yes, you are.
The Googler said she was right.
Yeah. I'll tell you, they always text me and call me, and they'll call me Google, and I think Puppet Master and Holly's little phone. They call me all these things, but you are my Google, Susan. So you're always mine. You always got me right. So Susan, do you have anything else? Because boy, that was a good one.
I don't, that's it. And it's been great to be with you all this morning.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you so much. Okay, great. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, that was great. All right, Jessica Dowd. Yeah, I am. She's gonna come up, and then everyone, the food is out there. Go get it while it's warm. While she's talking, grab yourselves a plate, bring it back. Please eat. It's beautiful. There is shrimp and grits. There is chicken and waffles, fruit, French
Toast casserole.
toast casserole. Yes, there we go. Thank you. French toast casserole and sweet potato biscuits. So go grab some food, bring it back. Jessica's gonna talk for a few minutes. Dowd, you got the floor.
Should I wait till they come back? They're not gonna listen to me. They're not gonna listen. No,
Okay, well, I guess we'll wait.
they're already talking to each other.
Okay.
It's fine. I can talk fast. I don't have a lot to say. I just have good stuff to say. Oh, good. How are you? Is it
At least on one side.
just on one side?
Yeah.
Just one, yeah, yeah.
Just
One
sing
side.
it.
Just one side?
Perfect. Now you're up. Now I can. All right.
One second, on line, 1 second. Okay, yeah.
So,
So that's out.
and this is my question. Oh, I figured it was, but the ratification law on the front page, does that contract ratify?
Yep.
No, it
It
didn't.
has to be right. Yeah, it has to be the ratification has to have, it can be signed by her, right?
Yes.
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 So we have
Why is it? It's just this is the just acknowledgement of it.
ratification. No, it's the actual last step to ratify the contract. That's why they put it in there, because you can sign and then not have a ratification or ratification date in order for that contract to go up. Right, have that new balance. because you did everything else and you don't have a date, you know, supposed to be find everything out, you negotiate back and forth, right? You don't have an actual date, think about it, you negotiate working out the date. Yeah.
I always thought it was when the last initial went on.
But ratification is the very last.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
See, I
because
always-
there's no date on the last,
Right.
it's just, you don't know.
I thought that was just a quick look for everybody to let everyone know this is when the last date went on. And now sign to verify this is when the last date.
No, well, I mean, it is kind of right,
Right.
but,
It is.
but yeah, that's when it's actual contracts, that's right down there on that date, yep. Okay.
Because this is, I know.
One second, guys, online, I promise we are going to come, you guys, come on, let's grab the food and come back and sit down, we got people online. And I don't want them waiting, remember they're online? Yeah. All right, Jess, I'm probably, where's Jess? I'm gonna just because the people on, you have 20, I promise to listen. Guys, just listen up while you're in line.
Yeah, they're totally not. Can Cregan talk? Can Cregan talk?
Yeah,
That's fine.
go.
So.
I feel ridiculous talking everything about.
But stand over here so they can see you online. Remember, we got a bunch of people online.
Where am I standing?
Yeah, right
in
there.
front of it.
They can see you.
Camera, right there.
Okay. All right, listen up, because she's not
Okay.
gonna talk. I don't want the people online to be waiting.
Now I don't even know what I was gonna talk about. So, everybody, what we're seeing now, I feel ridiculous. I'm sorry, guys. So we're starting to see closing costs get covered again. So I really just wanted to tell y'all an exciting story too, actually, where I have used the VHDA VA program. I know we've talked about it plenty of times before, but twice now, I have one closing next week. The other one's on its way to getting there. Twice now, we've been able to use the VHDA VA program with seller closing costs, and my VA buyers are getting their full EMD back at closing. That's been so awesome. So you've seen that.
I mean, that's awesome.
I mean, it literally hasn't, like, when I did the numbers and it came out, they're in their EMD back with the seller assisted closing costs, and they were using the 2% grant on the VHDA program to buy their interest rate down. So they got a lower interest rate and their closing costs covered, and they didn't come out of pocket any money. So it's a pretty cool program if you're using it right. If you have anybody, so it is income based because it's a first time home buyer program coupled with the VA loan. So if you have anybody that you think would qualify for it, it's household income. We're seeing it's usually like E4s and below right now because with the pay increase, E5's kind of pushed out of that. But happy to take a look for anybody that might want to see if their clients qualify for that. What other random thing was I gonna say? I just had some random tidbits that I was gonna throw out there. When it comes to termite and moisture, VA is the only loan program that requires termite and moisture if you don't check it on the contract. So conventional and FHA loans don't actually require clear termite moisture. FHA does require it if the appraiser notes anything that would require them to have the inspection done. But if you write the contract and do not include it in there, then you do not need the termite and moisture for FHA or conventional loans. And then there was something else.
The loan.
No, we talked about that. I thought I had something else, but I can't remember. What's that? How much in total?
Like max percentage?
I mean, technically it's not 10%, 6%, plus then you can get, plus then you can get more towards debt buy down points and reduction. Up to 10%. Yeah, thanks. There was something else. Oh, escrows.
Yes.
Not to completely deflect from Cregan saying that you can't do escrows. We just did a VA escrow for a buyer who had a really hefty appraisal required repair by the VA. They had to regrade the entire property because the water was running into the property, which we knew we weren't going to be able to get done before closing. So we got quotes. We escrowed actually through ACM. We escrowed that, collected 1.5%, so 150% of the bill. They had 30 days to complete the project, and then we released the funds and did the final home inspection, and they got to close while they worked on it. So it's not impossible to do escrows. There are some that we don't want to see that we totally want you to keep to yourselves, but ask us about it because I'll tell you before you send it to me.
No, you'd like to make the announcement.
Oh, and then
Wait. So I'll do it.
the whole time.
See, okay.
And for the Keller Williams Awards party, we are hosting it here this year.
So we get this room, there's a room next door, there's gonna be a whole bar with bartenders that are provided. And we will possibly have
Something
something special for our cappers and half cappers for a VIP room that we're not going to tell you what it is because it's not a bar this year. It's something
not a bar.
completely different
something
and
super
fun.
Tattoo.
close.
That's it. After hours, getting on the plane. No, it's going to be a separate room, but it's going to be pretty cool. So I'm super excited about it. Remember, you can always bring a +1, whether it be a spouse, a significant other, brother, sister, friend, and then also you can invite agents if you want for your downline. But we do have a date. It is March 25th, and it's going to be the same time, 6 to 10 or 6 to 9, whatever we had last year. But it'll be here, and I'm super excited about it. There's no cleanup or setup. They're doing it all. They actually, big round of applause to Sweetwater. They're giving us the whole room itself for free, and Jessica put the down payment on the food. So, which is really great. March 25th.
So I hope y'all enjoy everything today.
Yes.
The
This
food is
breakfast, but it's
fantastic.
so good. It's
But-
so good. And right, the biscuit. We will have those biscuits. We will have the biscuits and the shrimp and grits. Those two things. And the fruit will be at the award ceremony, but we also have like I think 8 other things that we're gonna have. And we also round of applause to Craig and Sarah too. They're also sponsoring. They already said they sponsor no matter where we are having it. We were having a little bit of a problem trying to find a place that was big enough for all of us now because we've outgrown Gather. And Jessica was a doll and was able to do this for us. So I really appreciate it and got us all this. So thank you
Very
very
excited.
much, Dow. Thank you so much. Anybody have any questions? Oh yeah, any questions for Jeff?
Nope.
Nope. All right, Cragen, you are up, sir. Come up here so they can see you. Oh, wait, has to, oh, I think that was. Has to be exterior for VA. So, oh, wait, hey, Jess, Susan has a question. How about that? She said, does it have to be exterior for VA to allow an escrow? Isn't that correct? It has to be exterior? Yes. So it has to be exterior repairs in order for VA to allow an escrow. Good question, Susan. Oh my gosh, I just love her. All right, there you go. Go right here so they can see you. And there you go.
Hello. How's everybody doing today? Wonderful. All right. So we have some good news finally because of COVID or since COVID. So there's a program called Waivers. Is anybody familiar with what Waivers are? Throw it. Just a show of hands. Besides,
Jess knows what caters are. Jess, what is
Yeah.
it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like
yeah, no. So
I know, I do too.
So Waivers is a report that we pull that shows any government delinquent debt. We all know what different government delinquent debts are. Student loans, that's a big one, right? Or if you've defaulted on a VA loan, an FHA loan, a USDA loan, and there are other items as well, but those are the big hitters that really affect us in the mortgage process. If you've defaulted on these loans, guess what? You don't qualify until you satisfy the delinquent debt. However, they just came out with, I think it was either last week or this week, they, as in the powers that be, have came out and said that we no longer need to count these waivers against the borrower. They're giving them, from what I read, 16 months to get their SHIT together. However, during that process, they are allowing us to, they're not going to be forgiven. They're just going to be overlooked, I guess is probably the best word to use, where if you didn't qualify 3 months ago because you had Waivers debt, guess what? You now qualify with that Waivers debt. That's huge. I had a guy, VA, was moving here from California, and he had like $15,000 in student debt, and he didn't know about it. When we pulled his credit, we were good. And then I guess in like February or something, it came through where the Department of Education they attacked everybody that had this former debt. Like during COVID, they forgave it, but in February it came out and they said, boom, we're crushing everybody. And it came, so like a week or two before closing, when we ran the Waivers report on this gentleman, guess what? When we initially ran it, it's not on his credit report. But when it came through, if we were to run his credit report again, it would have came through because as of a certain date, it kind of happened in the middle, if that makes sense. So this guy had to scramble, go get money to help pay off this debt from the family. So we could close. We ended up being able to close. My point is that since they came through with this new Waivers thing, none of that really matters at this point. But like I said, between now and the next 16 months, we're good to go. Who knows what'll happen in between then? It doesn't matter right now because they're not forgiving the debt. They're giving you this time frame to get your stuff together. But so it's still a debt. It's still a thing, but you can still buy a home with having this Waivers debt, with these delinquent debts, whether it be from FHA, VA. Now, it's a separate thing if you want to talk about VA and being delinquent, because that's a separate eligibility thing. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. But just know that if you had a client that said anything about the word Waivers, that, you know, we posted online like a week ago about this, and we actually got a lead from it. It was actually a real estate agent that got a lead that had a Waivers debt, and now they're ready to go buy again because the Waivers stuff doesn't matter. Anyway, all right. So that was one great thing we had from, you know, the post-COVID stuff. Another great thing is the FHA has come out. We were always having to count the debt, count income or lack thereof during COVID. If the person didn't work during COVID, you know, everybody was using I didn't work during COVID because it was COVID. Well, now we can utilize from the magic COVID, we'll say January 21 or January 22, I'm sorry, until now. And then that time frame during COVID from, say, March of 2020 to insert whatever random number you want to insert until the person decided to go back to work, that we go back prior to that March 2020 and go back another year or two or whatever it takes to get us to that 2-year mark plus year to date, where we can actually utilize that income. And this is for an FHA loan only. So that's a good thing because we can now, we can omit the lack thereof income that was not coming in during COVID.
If they're now in a new industry and different salary, how much of an issue?
If they're in a different industry, obviously that plays a part. Salary, we're pretty much good. I'll just go on the, I'll answer the question as far as salary. If they're a salaried employee, we're pretty much good. If they're an hourly employee, then it gets muddy. Just know that FHA standards for income are significantly more stringent than a conventional loan. An FHA loan, we've already talked about it before. FHA loans are for people that can't get conventional. And they say, oh, well, FHA, you only need 3.5% down. That may be true. However, mortgage insurance is usually like twice the amount. I say twice, 1.5 to 2 times the amount to pay for mortgage insurance. So mortgage insurance is more expensive. Yes, the rate is better, but so there's always like that window, somebody between a 680 and a 700 credit score. It's really person specific or loan specific on whether or not you push them to an FHA or a conventional loan, because the conventional loan is actually the better loan because of the mortgage insurance not falling off ever on an FHA loan, unless you put 10% down, but nobody does that. But that's really the point, is whenever somebody's in an FHA loan, I say, look, let's get you a Dwayne or get with whoever you want to use to do credit repair, and let's get your credit score a little bit higher so that when the rates take a nice little dip, hopefully in the next couple of years, we can refinance you out of that FHA loan and get you in a conventional to get rid of that mortgage insurance, because a lot of people, that could save them $150 to $300 a month depending on the loan. So all that makes sense?
Yeah.
Cool.
Let's make sure nothing in the chat. Is it spelled?
It's a CAIVRS, and I had it. Yeah. It's a Credit Alert Interactive Voice Response System. Who knows what government crap that is? Anyway, that's what Waivers are. And basically, it's just a reporting system for delinquent government debt.
So you know what it is.
Yeah, it's Credit Alert Interactive.
Thanks, Greg.
It's what
Yeah.
people,
Yeah, it's just a report that, that my team pulls once we get under contract and things like that. Now, if there is any thought that there may be a Cavers potentially out there, it's irrelevant right now, obviously, but we can actually pull a Cavers report prior to, if we were in that TBD system. If you were like, hey, I thought I had this student debt, but I think I paid it off, but I didn't. 95% of people out there don't realize that they have this Cavers debt because people just don't know about what debts they have because nobody pulls their own credit. I think, yeah. I think that was it. I'll mention one more time. When for a VA loan, for example, if your buyer is buying a duplex or a triplex or a quadplex and they're going to be moving into the one side, you must have that notice of renewal or legal notice to vacate to the whatever side that they're moving into. So just FYI on that, because there is a time frame where they have to move in there within 60 days. I know I've said that before, but for those of you that may not have been to the Stump of the Broker, there was one other thing I saw about, is anybody familiar with BlackRock? So it's not really here. It's in major metropolitan areas. The reason why I bring it up is because if they're major metropolitan areas, guess where their next place is going to be? What are we called? We're like middle, what's the fancy word for non-major? Medium? We're in the middle, right? We're not small, but we're not big. So if they're there now, they're probably going to be coming here next. So just if you do see those, like the certain funds or businesses trying to buy or LLCs trying to buy properties, you need to educate your buyers because there is potential that this LLC or this company is these big conglomerates. And what they're doing is they're trying to get rid of the first-time home buyers. Literally is what they're trying to do. They're trying to buy out these $150,000 to $250,000 houses or even below that to make them rental only. So they're basically trying to make it a rental only level. So it's basically getting rid of the first-time home buyers. And unfortunately for us and them, meaning the first-time home buyers, they're going to have to rent until they can get to a point of 300,000. But what did we see during COVID? And very recently, people bought these first-time home buyer houses. They were $250,000. And what did they do? They sold them for $50,000 to $100,000 more. So what did they take that $50,000 to $100,000 do? They went and put it down on another house. Their payment relatively probably dropped or stayed the same. And they bought a house that was twice as much as what they were in because the interest rate was low. And they were putting a pile of money down. So what does that do to our economy? Everything I just told you about these big conglomerates buying these first-time home buyers, it crushes our real estate market because of the circle of life of real estate. Make sense? Yes, sir.
Even what BlackRock is doing, just like Freddie Mac and stuff, they are buying bank notes from smaller lenders.
Mm-hmm.
They are doing that as well. So they are not just buying from the retail market, they are even owning that note. So if somebody forecloses or is unable to pay, they got the house from that angle also.
Exactly. So just know that it's out there. And I think that articles that I read, they were trying to downplay it. They were like, oh, out of 80,000 homes that were sold in Atlanta, BlackRock only bought 12,000. I'm like, that's a pretty freaking significant percentage in my opinion. I mean, that's like over 20%, right? I mean, that's a significant percentage that one conglomerate. And I even mentioned to the person that posted, I said, there are antitrust or there's laws in place through the SEC to prevent monopolies, right? Unfortunately, we don't have any laws in place to prevent this monopoly from happening. So, take it to your realtor boards, take it to everybody that you know that may be able to affect or create change through your Congress people and things like that, and let them know, hey, we are concerned about this as a group. And, that's all we can do is just let people know and hopefully create change. Last thing, the Topgolf meeting. We're having a Topgolf meeting. It's from 1 to 5 on Tuesday, August 30th. We're going to have 2 bays. 1 to 5 doesn't mean you have to come at 1 and leave at 5. It means you can come at 2 and leave at 3. It's just a stop in type of thing. We're going to have a little bit of drinks, a little bit of food. Yeah, which is fine. Yeah. Yeah. So drinks on Munesh, I guess. No, I'm just playing. But no, it'll be fun. If y'all want to go and hit a couple balls, fine. I'm not that great at golf. I always say I'm not good at golf, but I'm a good time when it comes time to play golf. So
they supplied the clubs balls, we supply the drinks, the food, you supply the laughter. It's going to be a lovely time. Support.
Yeah. So
Right?
if you can come,
Lord.
bring yourself, bring your team. It'll be a good time. Like I said, starts at 1, ends at 5. Feel free to stop by anytime, showings or whatever y'all got going on in life, because we all know real estate agents are busy. Other than that, do you have any questions?
Let
No?
me just check the chat. That's it. Thank you, Craig. Thank you so much. Right there, Alex. Come on out. You're welcome. Hi, guys. Woo, long time to see you. I feel like I haven't seen you in forever.
I know, right? It's been a minute.
I know it has. I missed you.
Miss you. Alex is gonna go first.
Okay, everybody. I talked about this last time, but there's gonna be a Popeye workshop, little air fresheners, working with an agent you trust makes sense.
Yeah,
Had
Alex.
to say it again.
Can you come here for the people online? Yeah.
Hi.
Say it one more time.
I can't say the same joke twice. Popeye workshop, August 18th at 11 a.m. right after the class hosted by Christy, the Popeye Canva workshop thing. So you'll learn about it and then put them together with me. And maybe I'll bring snacks or something. So
Oh, that'd be great. And then, just so you know, and I know I say this each time, but you can make as many as you want and it doesn't cost you a thing. It's the only Popeye workshop I've ever seen in 16 years. It does not cost you a darn thing to come and make those. So if you do not come and make them, to actually utilize them, you have lost your mind.
Yeah.
And that is it. All right, Sarah.
Super cute.
Oh,
way to
bring
stay-
business card.
Oh, yeah, bring your
bring
business cards. So you
cards,
can
you can
catch
put
them,
them in there. Yeah. Super fun event. You can hand them out to all like your past clients and new people you're trying to get in front of. Also, last Wednesday we did the insurance declarations page review and it went really well. It was recorded, correct? So you can access it
Yep.
On the Facebook page, but it was super informative. And so we're going to be putting another one together, but we're going to go over the flood declaration page, which is huge, and also umbrella. And I would really recommend agents come for the umbrella specifically. I mean, flood's really important too. Obviously, we live in Hampshire Roads, but for yourselves
Yes.
as a realtor, having that additional umbrella protection, what that means and why you need it.
Does anybody
And
have an umbrella policy besides me? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very good. You need an umbrella policy. So an umbrella policy, I have a 3 million umbrella policy.
yeah,
Anytime that you are in business for yourself, which each one of you are in here, do you have an umbrella policy? Yeah, did you raise your hand?
Yeah.
Okay, because you of all people need umbrellas. So it's all great again, but obviously you need an umbrella. So what happens is, let's say that you get into an accident and
it's your fault.
It's your fault, and they want to sue you. They completely want to sue you. So if you do not have an umbrella policy, they can pretty much take everything you got. They can take your house, they can take everything. But if you have an umbrella policy, Sarah,
You'll be covered up to that amount of the umbrella policy, which it starts at like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million. You can go up, but it's just additional coverage. And again, really good for people who are in business for themselves to have, and people who are doctors or lawyers that seem like they make money. I mean, that's people who are litigious want to go after those people. So
I pay under $50.
and again, yeah, it's so inexpensive to get an umbrella policy for that amount of coverage.
If you haven't had an umbrella policy before, they may, I don't know, because they will go through different lines and quote you, but some of them will only allow you to do 1 million to begin with, and then you can up it to 3 million later on.
Yeah,
But go to 3 when you can.
It depends on the carrier, and it follows your auto insurance policy. So you have to have your auto insurance policy with that same carrier for the umbrella to follow it. Luckily at Prosper, obviously we do that. So, super informative, very educational. Cragen, you had your hand up.
Make sure everybody in here and online gets a quote from them for that at least. Doesn't cost you anything to get a quote.
No.
So let them quote you. Sarah, can you type in your phone number where they need to get the quote? I don't know if it's for you or not. You have to click on the message. If you can type that in there.
Yep.
And then everybody here, just go to Sarah and she will.
I'm gonna actually put Alex's information in there. What's your friend number, Alex?
The info, but I'm telling you, just get the quote at least. They quote every insurance company except for Geico. And Geico, we have someone who will quote you with Geico as well, Greg. So between the two of them, you'll get a quote from every insurance company out there that's got a good rate. They'll give you the top ones.
Yeah. Cragen wanted to say something.
Yeah, do you have a, is there a limit to be able to sue, like a monetary limit? Like, you can only sue for 3 million a person.
Oh.
Like that. I didn't know.
Yeah, it depends on the type, like if you end up in an accident, let's just say, this is what Guy here talking when I first came to insurance license, they said, you're driving down the road and this guy who just got out of the hospital, who had brain surgery, is in the passenger seat of another car with a gentleman who had back surgery a month ago. And you decide that as you're driving down the road, you looked at your phone, you looked up and man, you just bumped him. Well, guess what? The brain surgery and the back surgery now is completely screwed up. They have to redo it. Now they have issues. They're out of work. This is how they taught me. They're out of work. They can't do anything. And by the way, the car that you hit was a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so it just depends because it goes off, Virginia goes off of what the injury is and how it happened. It doesn't have like a limit. Yeah, the great thing is that we're not Pennsylvania, which has pain and suffering that's added like almost automatically. So every single one. So it's a little bit better than Pennsylvania, but still it can go pretty high.
And I mentioned this in the class going over the declarations pages. Having you guys take a look at yours and send them over to Alex, and we can get you connected with an agent, and we can look over your declarations pages. If you're not insured with Prosper, run a quote for you and compare apples to apples and just see if, we can, get you a better policy than what you have. Our agents are really educational and thorough. So they're going to go through all the coverages with you. And then that way you get a sense of how they're handling your clients when your clients call in, and you know that they're being really taken care of and your clients are aware of their policy, their coverages, and feel good about it when it's time to go to closing.
And if you don't know what a deck page is, it's just the page of your policy that lists all your coverages and what they are. And now they're clearly labeled as declarations page. And if you log into whatever insurance company you have online or call them, they can send it over to you very fast, or you can just screenshot it and get it from there. So.
Exactly. Yeah. But so thank you guys. So we'll I'm working with Jordan on getting that next one scheduled. So stay tuned.
All right. Donnie wants to tell you guys about the back to school drive real quick. Go ahead, Donnie.
That's real quick. August 19th, as you guys know, I'm sponsored by one of my mortgage companies, Southern Trust Mortgage, and we've partnered with Waiver 10 for Operation School Supplies. So throughout the whole month of August, we're asking for donations of book bags and supplies. August 19th, I locked a location at Target. First Colonial will be in the parking lot. Wavy 10 will be out there with their camera crew. I've partnered with a bunch of barbershops and salons as well. So feel free to come get a free certificate so your kid can go to school looking fresh. It's going to be there from 3. Oh, sorry. We'll be there from 3:30 to 7, as long as Wavy 10 can withstand the heat. But yeah, so just come out. It's going to be 3:30 to 7. I chose Target because that gives people the opportunity to go inside to go buy some book bags.
Can they drop off the office too?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
One of the offices that you can drop off is going to be at 295 Bedford Road. Oh yeah, we could do that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Everything is for that.
Yeah. So First Colonial. August 19th. From 3:30 to 7.
There you go. After the Popeye. All right.
And yep. So feel free to come and get a certificate for your child to get a free cut. Okay.
Lucy,
real quick.
Come on. Lucy just came back from Disney, everybody. So she's bringing the magic. She's bringing the magic.
Pixie dust everywhere.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I would like to move to the islands. I'll be checking in I'll be snorkeling and I'll check in at some point later.
Sweet key. That's where you're going to go.
I don't care where I go, as long as I can go outside and snorkel every day. I really don't have a lot.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm going to reiterate an old request just because there are some people who are getting going again who maybe haven't done a lot of deals lately. I'm going to request that in brokerment, you do not ask for exemptions for documents that are not required. Because that means I have to open it up, read everything that's there, make sure that there's nothing there, and approve it. I don't want to reject your exemptions, but you're going to get a little love note that says, please do not ask for an exemption on a document that's not required. We have clearly labeled in all caps with little asterisks, required documents.
I will add as well, I'm talking a little loud so they can hear me. If we do have repeat offenders of items to where we feel that there is a liability issue, we've said this before, but we're gonna say it again, that we feel there's a liability issue, meaning it's not that you made a couple of mistakes, but you're continuously making mistakes that could put the company and yourself in jeopardy for liability, then we will request that you are doing the very next transaction with a mentor, just because we want to safeguard you, us, and I just saw the hands that of people that have umbrella policies, and it wasn't a lot. So I want to safeguard the company, but we've said this multiple times, and Lucy and myself are the ones that make that determination. We've only had to make that determination twice, so we've done pretty good. But just make sure that you are asking Lucy if you are unsure things. Don't just, kind of go out there on your own and do it, because we've had some experiences lately where it's been pretty bad and we've had to pull some people out of the hole. And so make sure that you get help, ask the questions. We have Carla, we have Lucy, we have the mentors, all kinds of help. So just make sure you do that. We just don't want to have to slap a mentor with you, but we would have to if it is something that is grotesque that continuously happens. So, like I said, we only had to do it twice before, and it's not a bad thing if we have to do that, guys. It's not a bad thing. It's just to teach you the correct way of doing it through the transaction, and then you're released, So it's just something we have to do in order to protect all of us, or we're not gonna have a brokerage. So make sure we do it.
And another thing, I'd love to see this happen more and more. When we have a listing in our office, and another one of our agents sells that listing, you are required to provide a designated agency form signed by all parties.
Yes, do not forget that.
And I would love to see 8 out of 10 deals come through my desk this way. I would love to see us double ending. You guys need to be selling your own coworkers listings. You need to be looking at those first.
Sorry.
You need to be looking at those first. That needs to be your first stop shop, is we need to be supporting each other, and that needs to be where you start your shopping. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Not everything's going to fit, but you already know you're going to have rapport and a good working relationship and quality transaction work if you work with somebody from our office.
Yeah, we're really good. That's one of the things that I consistently hear from other brokers, is that our agents actually know what they're doing. And I'm really proud of that. So you guys have done great. And I'm super proud. Lucy came up and said she doesn't have much, which means we're good.
Questions?
On the designated agency, does that include other Keller Williams
No.
offices, or is it separate because we're independent?
We're independent. We're independent.
Yep, just us.
Just us, just within our little umbrella.
Yes, our umbrella. All right.
Any other questions? Anything online?
Quick comment, back at you media, like you post, like you can set it up so that it automatically posts all the agents. Yeah, so I have it set up, so I've been posting everybody's listings, and then it's like making me look good, it's making my buyers see what's going on.
What is it?
Back at you media.
Oh. You don't use me.
And then are you connected to Back at you media?
You don't? Just call Carla. Yeah. Yeah, if you want Back at You Media, text me. It's in your welcome email. Everybody has it. It says text Thomasina, your name, phone number, or email. She will set it up, and you will get an invite into your email, and you can go ahead and do it. We've also had 2 trainings on Back at You Media. Both of them are recorded. They're on the YouTube channel. And I think we have another live one coming up next quarter. Yeah. So I thought we did it once a quarter. Okay. We used to do it once a quarter. But we. Okay, that's fine. Once a quarter, we'll continue on with our training with that because it's super important. And I want to make sure you guys use it. But it is a platform that automatically posts on all of your websites, all your social media, everything automatically with posts that's already done. And you can utilize everyone's listings in our office and promote them as your own. So it helps everybody else who has listings, and it helps you to look like you have more listings than what you do, because that's what we pay for. So Back at You Media. There's no more questions in the chat.
You covered for me for 10 days. Did you have anything come up?
Oh, you don't even want me to start. No, just kidding. Just make sure that you guys have their signatures on everything, and if there is a discrepancy, it's clearly written in an addendum. Make sure that all of your verbiage is something that you pass by Lucy if you're not sure of it. Just because Lucy is our verbiage girl, I got a little scared when nobody asked me for verbiage, but everything seemed okay. We had a couple little hiccups that we checked on, but besides that, everything seemed pretty good. We have a lot of agents transferring in from other offices right now that aren't used to having a Lucy, a Thomasino, or a Carla, and they are adjusting very well. They're actually super appreciative of it, which I just love. I think that's great. So we're getting great feedback on the help there, and sometimes it can be a little wonky there, right? So they're all doing great. I really don't have anything except for the verbiage. That's it. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Was it only 10 days? It felt like 2 months.
No, it felt like 2 days.
Huh. We have a difference of opinion there. All right. So thank you. All right, Carla, come on up. Put it down a little bit because you're a little short.
A little bit shorter.
A little bit.
Just a little bit.
There you go.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Okay, couple things. In the past, when you've had your listing start date and maybe weren't quite ready and it had to go in a couple days later. Yeah, you were able to use the listing change form and change that date. Rain has changed their mind after so many years and says, no, you can't do that anymore. Yes. So if we cannot make that listing live within 1 day, they only give you 1 day.
Business day.
1 business day from the listing start date. If you cannot meet that date, you need to change the date on your SLA and the data sheet and get it initialed.
All right. I'm going to tell you all something right now. Hold on 1 second. 1 moment. So for those of you that are online, I'm going to need you to get with Carla on what was just advised. It was something really short and quick, but just get with Carla on what was advised. All right, we can continue on.
Okay. So when you're doing your listing paperwork, you could actually do the listing paperwork today, put the date that you want to start 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now. Rain will give you up to 30 days. So you can do it now and get everything ready and signed with a date in advance. You do not have to get it signed the day of or the day before. All right. But we have to put it in within 1 business day. All right.
Yeah. The problem with that is it's when they want to do the sooner, you're still going to happen. So
right.
Back to what I said.
Right. If you're submitting and you're turning in your listing to go in and maybe you've created a listing change form, make sure you let Caitlin know. She may not catch that something was changed and you added it to a listing change form and she will put the listing in and not catch that. We just had one, I don't know who it is, I'm not going to say, but it had to do with.
She does know.
Yeah, yes, I do.
That was a lie.
No.
That was shown to be a lie.
And they may have brought it to her attention. I'm not positive, but it had to do with some appliances. So just make double sure when she puts that listing in and sends you the message and says your listing is saved as incomplete, please review and upload your photos. Please review everything, because if she has in there that the washer and dryer are coming with that house and you're like, oh, no, it's not. It's a washer and dryer hookup. We need to correct that before we make it live. So that's why we ask you to please review it. Make sure that we have everything right, that we didn't make any mistakes. Make sure you didn't forget something. Oh yeah, I meant to change that. That is 4 bedrooms, not 3. Yeah, it does happen. So please review those, get the listings.
So for the listing change form, just so everybody knows, there is a place on there for broker. But if you read it correctly, The only time the broker has to sign a listing change form, does anybody know when I have to sign a listing change form? Because a lot of you seem to think it's every time. Does anyone know when I have to sign a listing change form? The only time I have to, not you, the only time I have to sign a listing change form does not you either. Does anyone else know? Kind of, yeah. So yes. No, that's not it.
Form.
That's a completely different form. Anyone else? Nope.
Nope.
When the client hasn't signed. So correct, right? If the client hasn't signed, I've signed, but then we're gonna have to have a conversation of why I'm signing to overrule your client. If the client signs, the broker does not have to sign a listing change form. Raise your hand if you ever sent me a listing change form to sign. Raise your hand, everyone.
Yeah, she's got them.
Everyone, it's very confusing because it's on there and it looks like I have to sign it. It's not your fault. It's just the way they put it. But if you read it, it's only if the client hasn't signed. So
So much more before the visit.
we did.
Another one of those.
Yep,
Has not been brought into the current century.
correct.
So there is no reason to not have your people sign it.
Yeah.
They can pick up their phone and tap the screen and
Yeah.
sign.
I will tell you here, I've had this happen in the past. So we have had unruly listing clients, right? Just absolutely ridiculous, won't show the property, right? And we know that's against grain laws and regulations. Jordan comes to me and says, hey, I can't get them to show the property. We're gonna get a fine. I tried to get them to withdraw the listing and won't do it. I will make executive decision with you. Are you in agreement? You're okay with losing this? Yep. Okay, me too. We'll get your lockbox off. I'm signing it. We'll send a letter to the client saying we no longer have the listing. So that's the time that I get involved, if that makes sense. Any other time you don't have to do it. You do not have to have the broker signature on that. Again, it's very confusing because it's pretty prominent right there on the left, but I don't have to sign it unless your client has to sign. Now remember, don't send it to me without your client because you don't want to ask them to sign. I'm going to ask, hey, what's happening here? You know, and I'm going to have to call the client and get information from them so they can handle it. But if they sign, you don't have to send it to me. So just save it for stuff. Yeah, come on. Can you all hear Lucy from where she's at? Can you just say yes or no? You're saying yes. Yes.
If you're taking a listing at a reduced commission, you must have the Queen's blessing in writing, and that must be part of your broker document. Because if I see that you've taken a 3% listing and you're taking 1%, you're giving away 2%, you're gonna get a love note that says, have you talked to Thomasina? I'm not doing anything with this.
Yeah,
And you're
that's a
gonna
good
see it in all capitals. in that
Make it live in them.
Do not make this live.
Yep.
Yeah, so make
It
sure
will
you get
not.
with me first, because I'll have you put a note in and I'll put a note, we'll all be on the same page. Just remember, when you go below 1%, reducing your commission 1%, that we have to have a talk, because if you go way down, it's gonna have to come out of both sides. It's not just ours, You can't just go in and do it for nothing. I mean, we save those for you guys for your personal deals, but nothing else. We're not allowed to go in and take it down to 1% and then have it just all come off of our side and your side. It has to come off of the one. It's our franchise agreement. We can't go down that low and not do it, because then it looks like we're pocketing money. So we have a big issue there to keep doing that. But just make sure that you get with me and we talk. And also, you guys are not discount agents.
Right.
1% is something, I understand that because you're in a situation, you want to go from 6 to 5. And I've even seen some go to 4 for whatever reason in the market we used to have. The market's changing. But don't go any further than that. We've seen the 5, we've seen the 4, but when you start going down really low, like you're actually working almost for free. And that you guys don't work for free. You're not free 50. That's not how much you cost. Free 50 is not a thing. So it is, but you're not for you. We don't want to do it. So that was a really good one.
All right.
You have anything else?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Starting to get a lot of questions about for sale by owners. One that I had was, can I put a for sale sign in the yard of a for sale by owner?
No.
No. Can I do an open house for a for sale by owner?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that I got this morning.
Yep.
Right.
Just get with me. I'll tell you how to do it. Actually, you should be calling all of them and offering a free open house if anyone's been in my training.
So Lucy, in order for them to do that, would they need to use that for sale by owner checklist that has the authorization to show?
Authorization to show is your form that you need.
CDIF
and the chapter 7?
Authorization.
Unrepresented party? What do you want?
Yeah. Authorization to show.
Authorization to
Yeah.
show.
We're both on the same page
Okay.
with that, yeah. This authorization to show, and then the nice thing is you're going to call up, here's a quick little spiel with a script for you. You call up the first sale by owner, say, hey, listen, I don't want to sell your home. I hope you sell it. I hope you make all kinds of money. What I do want to do is I want to do a free open house for you, which in turn, I will be able to bring you buyers. I will get buyers. You only need one. I want the rest. I know it sounds crazy, but it's better for me and my business. Do you mind if I do that? And then usually they're like, what? Really? Like nothing like that. Like, totally. You go there, you can talk to them, you make friends with them. Hopefully you'll get the listing. But if not, you're going to have all these buyers that come in for the open house. You can advertise that you're doing an open house. You cannot advertise that it is your house, right? You can say doing open house at 123 B Street. You cannot say that you're selling it. You can't say it's for sale. Nothing like that on social media because it is not yours. Also, you cannot do open houses for other brokerages. Remember in the listing form where you put sub-agency no? That means you're not doing it. So everyone has no on theirs. I haven't seen a yes. And so they already told us we can't do it. You cannot do an open house for another brokerage. You can do it for ours though. That's not a sub-agency. Another brokerage you cannot. So hopefully you understood that. If not, feel free to text me. And after I get through the 74 texts that are on there now, I will answer it. There's 74 texts on my phone right now. Okay, so anyway, so and I'll be happy to answer those for you though. But it's a script that we've been preaching for about 3 years, and it works really well. It really does.
All right, last thing on FSBO. If you sell a for sale by owner, we can enter it in the MLS to count it as a sale for you. It is required to be done within 30 days of the closing date. So if you're working on one, you've got the contract, all we need is the data input sheet completed with the required information so that we can enter it in, and one photo exterior front. Make sure we have that so that when we get it and it's closed, we can go ahead and put that in there for you.
And if they sell something in the Williamsburg MLS,
Oh yeah, you can actually put those in as well.
yeah, so if you sell something
It's
in
just
another
out of
MLS
area.
like Williamsburg and it's not in rain,
Mhm.
we can actually put it in just like you would for self or more
Right.
listings or more buy
Yeah.
sides. Sorry. Yep. How would you know?
Yes. How would we know? And nope.
No, I mean, how would we know if I'm asking because if there is a way, then no. How would we know that it was a Williamsburg versus a rain?
One,
Because
we
it's a
need
buy side.
we need the data information, and I'm not filling it out.
Yeah, you
So
can't.
we have to have that.
Well, she can't fill it out, but
No, but the other thing
is there a
is,
way for them to know that? I'm asking for a
No.
friend. You don't think so? Okay.
right,
Yeah, I won't be able to.
nope.
Maybe futuristically, but not yet. Okay.
No.
All right.
Now,
Am I
if,
good to stand?
if that agent in Williamsburg is also a member of RAIN MLS, you have to get their permission in writing in order to do it. You cannot put it in that MLS if they are a member. Is the only time that you cannot.
But usually, I will say, usually if they're a member, they put it in
Yep.
both.
We
Usually.
we actually have one that she put it in Williamsburg only and
And
did
didn't
not
put it
put it
in.
in RAIN, but she's a member of RAIN.
Yeah, usually they
So-
put it in both. Yeah.
so,
Just
yeah.
ask for the permission. Yes.
We added a checklist.
Right, but
Was doing nice.
Oh.
yeah.
I'm sorry, someone spoke. Go ahead.
That was me. We added a checklist. FSBO MLS entry. So that has what they need to put on there in
Yes.
Brokerman.
There is a checklist for that. If you want us to enter it, it has a data sheet and you fill it out for us.
Caitlin, do you have anything to add?
Is it?
I think so.
Okay.
All right, that's it.
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. All right, again, so every Tuesday is Stump the Broker. You guys know that. August 10th is Social Media 101, navigating Instagram. I really think you need to go to those. I don't know why you wouldn't. Everybody in here should be advertising. And if you're not advertising, then I shouldn't hear anyone complaining about not getting any leads, because advertising is the number 2 way to get leads. Anyone know what number 1 is? Lead generation. I don't know. I didn't come, but I wish we had a class for that.
With a top team, not just our Keller Williams, but number 2 in the region of West Virginia and Virginia, teaching you scripts. It just better than that. It really doesn't. Also, that's August 11th. So, everything North Carolina, new construction is August 17th. I'm actually going to that because I don't know a lot about new construction. Thank you, Kara, for having that. Campbell for real estate and the Popeyes. They told you about that with Prosper Popeyes afterwards. We're chatting real estate, the 90-day rule, and mechanics liens will be coming up at the end of the month. Then we have a thing day on August 27th.
Red, no, Mark, okay, the number 3.
And what do we have? Chicken, hamburgers, hot dogs, quesadillas, as we did last year. For those of you that weren't there last year, yeah, we can rank it. For those of you that weren't there last year, what we do is we have the main food already provided and dessert, and then everyone else just brings a side to share. It doesn't have to be a side to share with 100 people, just be a regular side because we always get so many. We're gonna have raffles and all kinds of drawings from our vendors, which we give away, which last year, go ahead and tell them what we did last year, Muna. She was in charge of it. We did a 50-50, which we're doing again.
Fundraiser.
Yep.
For.
Pin ministry.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we did a 50-50. Yeah, yeah, it was great. We did a 50-50 where you took half and then we gave the other half. And then we had.
Are you gonna do a Venmo?
Yes, yeah, we did. Yeah, we did Venmo too. We did Venmo last year. We did Venmo, Cash App, PayPal.
Facebook,
No, I didn't have Zelle last year. I have it this year, but I didn't have. You gotta give me. Oh, okay, yeah. Facebook, just so that we can go ahead and do that. But yeah, we'll have the tickets. Christy, am I missing any? Oh, games. We'll have a few games. We're gonna have the sock race and all that. Bring the children. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna have the pop-ups. We're going to have music because Tara has donated to the office her complete setup that we usually utilize. So we have that for every event. So it's going to be a lot of fun. August 27th, bring your significant other and children. Yes. Oh, tell them about that. Go ahead, Sam. Yes. Yeah. We're bringing school supplies. If you come side and school supplies, yeah, we need to send that out so we can, so I don't forget that. Make sure that's on the, Caitlin, make sure that's on the invite on the Facebook, please. But yeah, school supplies. So we're going to bring, we have school supplies that we're doing with Donnie on the 19th, right? You said, and then on the 27th. So if you go out and get school supplies, just separate them out, do 50-50, so we can give school supplies for the Newport News school. They really, 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 really need it, guys. They really need it. So I'm happy to sponsor that. And we already talked about Happy Hour Top Golf. Business Planning Clinic is MREA, net leverage, money, all of us. It's really great. Holly teaches it every month. I pop in. Angela, who had to step out, just gave a huge testimony on it. And then our cappers. Are we ready? Christy. Guys, Christy is in her second year of real estate ever and capped. Congratulations, Christy. Give me right now. So, all right. Oh, that did have music, but I guess. Oh, there we go. Very proud of you guys. That is your top agents for July. Well, I swear we had another one. I just can't find it. $1 Million Club. This is new and upcoming. We were requested to have $1 Million Club. So here we go, guys. We have $1 Million Club. These are people who actually had a volume of $1 million or more in the month of July. So, actually, my one-on-one with Samantha, she is the one who has brought that to our attention. So it was pretty cool that she actually made $1 Million Club in July because she brought it to my attention 2 months ago. It has taken us a minute to figure out how to get all the stats and be able to do it. So now we have that for every month. You will see that as a new thing. Testimonials, we got some testimonials. Sam has a testimonial. 2, actually. She had 2. And birthday. Happy birthday. So we had a lot in August, so. All right, so closing, yes. Right before the Lord, do you want to go right before the Lord? That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Do you want to That's fine.
Let you know that I'm having a birthday party August 20th at Chicho's Lilac. You all are all welcome to come.
Aw.
Whatever you want. Here, we got DJ Jules Gatt. You might have heard of him.
Aw.
DJ for us.
Can you send that info and I'll put our thing?
Yeah. 5 to 9. And then more important, we're doing. I don't know if you all know this, but Virginia Tech is playing at Old Dominion this year, which is a huge game, right? Huge game. Last time Virginia Tech came here, we beat them, right?
Yep.
Get goosebumps. Think about it.
I'm okay with it.
I've gone to a million sporting events. It was literally the best sporting event I've ever been to. I digress. So we're doing a huge tailgate in the WHRO lot. I just posted on y'all's page yesterday.
Okay.
If you do want to come, bring your family, bring your friends. I don't care. Bring 20 people. I don't care.
It's really fun, guys. It's a fun tailgate. Even if you don't go to the game, it's fun.
Please sign up on Eventbrite so we can plan accordingly. Because we're gonna have food and drinks.
Yeah.
And things.
Can you send that too? Because then I can send it to the admin for them to put on our events page.
Yeah. I put it on the page earlier.
You didn't put it under events though, right?
No.
Yeah, so email it to me and then I'll forward it to them and they'll add it to the events.
Yeah, like it's very, anybody, bring whoever you want. It's just a big party. It's a tailgate, obviously. You do not have to have a ticket to come. That's definitely, make that very well known because people are like, oh, I don't have a ticket. I'm like, you don't need a ticket.
Yeah.
Just come hang out. It's September 2nd. It's a Friday night game from 4 to 7 is the tailgate. The game starts, I think, at 7. So
perfect.
Feel free to come hang out, drink. And then
It's really fun, guys. It is. It's really fun. I'm gonna go.
It's nowhere near a WVU tailgate.
There's no couches. Hide your couches, everybody. Hide your couches. For real. You're welcome. I want to say one thing though, because he brought up a very good point, Caitlin. For the vendors that are at our team meetings, which is Tina, Alex, Sarah, Dowd, Reagan, I really want to add them into our birthday roundup. So if you could start sending that to Maria for the birthday. Yeah, well, you didn't have a big party, invite everybody soon. Well, I mean, I came. You and I had it, yeah. But if you could do that, Caitlin, because I think that's something that we really do need to recognize, especially those that are closest with us and come to these meetings. I really want to do that. So Caitlin said yes, so she's going to. All right, I'm going to close this out. Please feel free to eat a little bit more. And then for those of you that have one-on-ones with me, we'll be meeting over at Chicho's, me and Cragen. And I think that, was there a question in the back? No? Any questions before I pray? Yes. Yeah. Yes. No, not referral. This is if you close, because you didn't close it. You're getting referral. Does that make sense? Right, not out of the state, not out of the state. Not out of, yes, out of the MLS of Rain. So like Williamsburg, War. Does that make sense? Okay. And then like Gail, like if Gail was a member of both and she only did North Carolina, because Gail's primarily North Carolina, that's all she does. She did North Carolina, but didn't have it in both. Because like everyone else in North Carolina that we have, they have both. And so it's in both. But like Gail only does it. So then we could put her in. Does that make sense? Yeah. So if you close it, like let's say that you did have a North Carolina license or whatever, and you didn't have Rain, then you would pop it in to Rain. Does that make sense? I mean, didn't have MLS access in the other area. Like Little Banks, North Carolina, it's a different MLS than what we have, right? Eastern Shore is another different, because as a buyer, you can call up request to show those properties if you have a license in that state, right? So Eastern Shores, Virginia, you could actually show property there if they allowed you. Yeah, a lot of times it says only pay for people who are part of the MLS there, so. Yeah. It is, yep, we talked about that and Stump the Broker. So true. All right, any other questions? Christy's ready to pay. Any other questions? All right. Lord, thank you so much for this lovely and beautiful place that we had our meeting today. Thank you for Dowd for arranging that for us. Thank you so much for all of our vendors and all that they do. You have truly blessed us and blessed each and every one of our lives with who you have brought in. Thank you so much for the agents that you have brought to us. Thank you for the 30 agents that have joined us this year. They are also such a blessing to us. I pray that you continue to bless this business as it is yours, and that you grow it with people who have a kind heart, are very ambitious, loving, also a little bit tenacious, and that we continue to be this beautiful family that you have created for us. It is in your name we pray. Amen. All right. And that's it. So everybody online, have a lovely week. Everybody here, continue to grab some food. And then those of you that have one-on-one, we'll see you over at Chicho's. I think the first one starts at 12:30, I believe. So we'll see you there. All right, guys. Bye. You can't swarm me.